Hi guys, welcome back. This is Sharon Ayala, and today we're making Frankenstein's monster. This is actually a video tutorial in two parts. There's one part for the head, and that should be popping up on your screen, and then this video that you're watching is going to walk you through the steps of making the body. This actually isn't a beginner-friendly pattern. In this video I'm going to show you everything that's out of the ordinary, so we're going to be doing color changes together. I'll show you how to weave in a yarn tail when we're done the last row of the shirt. I'll show you how to insert the yarn to make the pants and how to make the bridge between the legs. I'll show you how to do the shoes, how to stuff them, how to sew them in place. I'll also show you how to shape the jacket and assemble it. I'll also show you how to do the bolts and then sew the head and the body together. So that's what this video tutorial is for. So there's a written pattern. This is free on my blog, and that should be popping up on your screen. And again, you don't need to click that right now. It will be there for the duration of this video. In the written pattern, I give you the size. I also give you the order in which this video tutorial was filmed, and everything that was in the video is written down here. So if you're looking for something in particular, then you want to look at this section. I give you the supplies list, and I tell you how to read the rows, which is important because my patterns are written a little bit differently than most. So that's a good little section to start off reading. And of course the written pattern for the body of the doll. At the very bottom of the pattern you'll find the green print friendly button, and there's also an opportunity to donate. This is not an obligation. This is only if you can. If you can't donate, I give you other ways that you can help support my blog, and you just click that little link and it'll tell you how you can support me and help me keep bringing you free patterns and videos. So of course you're going to be using the same hook that you used to make the monster's head with, and I used a 4mm hook. I used a blunt and yarn needle, a pair of scissors, of course, a small amount of polyester stuffing. I used brown for the jacket and the pants. I used green for his skin color. I used white for his shirt and his socks, and a little bit of black for his shoes, and a tiny bit of gray for the bolts in his neck. If you use the same hook size and yarn weight that I did, then you should get a doll about 6.5 inches tall. Alright guys, real quickly I'm going to show you a couple of things. These are all free. The Pocket Ghost is a free written pattern on my blog and also here on my YouTube channel. The Cutie Pocket Bat, free written pattern on my blog and also here on my YouTube channel. We got the Grumpy Pumpkin. You can make them with or without the face. And then my Creepy Tree. This is on my other channel called Where the Gnomes Live, and I show you step by step on how to make this tree. There's no wires in this guy and there's no clay involved. I also show you how to make his eyes glow. So if you're interested in making one of those, there's still time before Halloween gets us here. And that link is in the description box below, and it should also be popping up on your screen. Alright guys, we're going to start making our doll. In the next clip I'm going to show you how lightly to stuff the neck, and then we're going to jump into the color change, and we'll do the color change together. So between the skin and the shirt. So if you've never done color changes before, don't worry. I'll show you how to do it in this video. Alright guys, grab your crochet hooks and let's get started. I just finished row 8 and I have 16 stitches around, and the written pattern says to stop and stuff now. You actually can stuff a little later on in the pattern, but let's just do what the pattern tells us to do now. When you're stuffing the neck, you don't want to overstuff. You see that? Looks pretty much the same after it's stuffed there. And you want it to fit into the head nicely, and we are going to permanently attach this after, and I'll show you how to do that. But yeah, you don't want to overstuff it, so just a little bit of stuffing just to hold that shape is all. You don't need very much in there. Alright guys, you can pause the video now. When you're ready to change colors, we will do that together. So you can hit play again when you get to the row where we switch colors. Alright guys, I'm coming to the end of row 9 and I'm going to switch colors. This is the last stitch of this row. So I just put in one single crochet. Now I'm going to go back into the same stitch and put my second one. But before I finish off, I'm going to switch colors. So now I have two loops on my hook. I'm going to hold that working yarn back here, and then hold the new yarn color under the same finger. Get ready to crochet on. Switch fingers. Now pull the new color through those two loops. And we've just switched colors. So row 10 is one single crochet in the next two stitches, and then two single crochets into that third stitch, and then repeat all the way around. when you landed the marker, you'll be putting in 2 single crochets, of course. So for this row, there is going to be a little bit of a color jump. We're not going to worry about it because it's going to be hidden with the jacket. So here's the first stitch of the next row. When I go into that stitch, I'm going to crochet around the color change to yarn tail, so the shorter one. And that will just weave it in for me, and it'll hide it. So there's one single crochet in the next, and then 2 single crochets in the stitch after that. And I'm still crocheting around that color change. Now I can let go of those, and that color change isn't going anywhere. I can let go of it, and I can also cut it free from here. Now I get this cut free from that one, and cut this one up shorter, and I can continue on now with my white. I'm going to do the end of that row, and I'm going to put my last sequence in, 1 single crochet in the next 2, and then 2 single crochets into that 3rd stitch. This main color that I was working with, if it's loose there, just give it a little tug. There's a little gap. Just give it a little tug, and then you can crochet around it as well. So just hold it along the edge and crochet around it. Alright, I just finished off, and I'm going to weave this yarn tail in. So all that means to weave it in is just bring it back. I'm going to go through, bring my yarn needle through the center of those stitches there. This is all I'll need to do for this. See, I've brought it through. I'll carry it back, and now I can cut it free. And that yarn tail is taken care of. Next we're going to insert the pant color, and if you turn this back, the bottom of the shirt, flip it downward, you'll see all the outer loops that we need to work in, and there's 30 of these. So the last loop here is a bit of a jump from this one. You can see there's a jump between them. So this is what I do. I'm going to pull my yarn through the first loop and chain 1, and this chain 1 counts as the last stitch of the row. So let's put a little marker in there. So I'm going to put a single crochet in each one of those loops around, and I'll speed it up so you can see what the end looks like. So I just made it around, and I put a single crochet in that last loop. You can see there's that jump I was talking about at the beginning. And I'm going to single crochet into where I put that marker. And that last one there counts 30. So I'm finished row 1 of the pants, and I have 30 stitches around. I'm going to move my marker. Alright guys, you can pause the video now and finish the next few rows, and we'll meet back here at the end of row 5, and I'll show you how to do the little bridge across. Alright, so now we're going to create the little bridge between the legs, and what we do is single crochet into the 14th stitch from the hook. So we count this way, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 14. Single crochet into that stitch. Turn the piece, put a single crochet in the first stitch after the hook, and now single crochet directly across. And that's all there is to that little bridge. Now we can finish off. Okay, we can stuff the body. I'm just going to push some stuffing in between those legs. A little bit more in there. You don't need to stuff right to the edge of the legs because the socks are going to fit in there, which I'm going to show you how to do in the next clip. But you can see the socks are going to get pushed in there, and it's going to hold that stuffing in place. So let's make the socks and the shoes, and we'll do that in the next clip. I'm just coming to the end of row 4. I'm going to put my last stitch in, and this is where we're changing colors. So I'm going to go ahead and start the stitch, but I'm not going to finish it. I'm going to leave those 2 loops on my hook, and I'll bring in my color change. And I use black for the shoes, but because it's so hard to show up, I'm going to use brown so you can see what I'm doing. Get ready to crochet on. I'm going to pull the new color through those 2 loops, and there, we've switched colors. Now we're moving on to row 5, and we're going to be working in the front loops only for the entire row. We're going to put a single crochet in the first front loop, 1 single crochet, and now 2 single crochets in each of the next 6 front loops. Okay, And now 1 single crochet in the next 6 front loops, 1 single crochet, and now 2 single crochets into that last front loop. This is the last stitch of the row. 2 single crochets. Break free from the white. We don't need to use that anymore. We can knot off these color changes here. That also helps bring the color change line up together. Pull the knot fairly tight. That kind of brings that color change line into each other. Cut those up shorter. There, we finished row 5, and now we have 21 stitches around. Row 6, we're working in both loops. You're going to want to add a marker. And 1 single crochet in each one of those, 21 stitches. And again, you're working in both loops of the stitch. Okay, row 7, we're working in the back loops now. And we're going to put 1 single crochet in the first back loop. And then crochet the next 2 loops together. And now repeat all the way around. 1 in the back loop, and then 2 together. Just finished row 7. And now we're going to work in the back loops again, but do not add a marker. We're going to repeat this sequence 4 times. 1 single crochet in the next 2 back loops, and then 2 back loops together. And again, repeat that 4 times. 1 single crochet in the first 2 back loops, and now two back loops together. There was once, and now repeat that 3 more times. 1 single crochet in the next 2 back loops, and then 2 back loops together. There we go. I just finished row 8, and I'm going to finish off. Leave a nice long tail for sewing. We're going to use this tail to sew up the gap of the shoe, and also to sew the foot into the body. Before we stuff the socks and the feet, let's weave in and out of the remaining stitches. Now, if you can, weave in and out of the back loops. If you can't, don't worry about it. Just weave in and out of the remaining stitches. I'm going to go in and out of those back loops all the way around. A little bit difficult when you're working with black to see, especially in such a small round. So if you can't do the back loops, don't worry about it. It's still going to work out. You can go through both loops of the stitch. All the way around to where you started. Now before we pull that gap, we need to stuff the foot. The socks first, of course, and then we'll stuff a little bit into the foot, not too much. Now pull that yarn tail to close up the gap. Knot it off so it holds that gap closed. So the way I designed the shoe, where we did the color change, can sit on the inside where you won't see it. So make sure when you shape your shoe that that color change is facing the inside of the body. So you don't see it on the outside at all. And see, we don't want to overstuff it because we want the bottom to be nice and flat, but we're also going to make it flat by pulling this up through here. Before we do that, if we wanted to, we could shape the front here. We could put a couple of stitches into the front of the shoe if you wanted to. It's not necessary. I didn't do it like for all of them. I'm just thinking about it now. If your foot has been overstuffed, you can put a couple stitches in there to flatten it out. See how that flattened it out there? And that's the front of the shoe. Once you're happy with this shape of the shoe, bring this up to the top of the sock and pull it until the bottom of the shoe is flat. You can put it on the table and check it and see how flat it is. Once you're happy with the fact that it's flat, looks like a UFO. Once you're happy with how that shape is, then knot this off right here. Very important to knot it off here. pull on this and it won't pull on this anymore. You just want it to pull on this part here. So let's sew his legs in place now. Just push that stuffing up a little bit. And where we finished off the shirt, make that the back. So you have the color change in the back, and where we finished off the shirt, that little dip there is in the back. So you don't have to worry about that. And bring it right up through the center and out the top of the neck. And pull it into place, and remember that color change jump you want on the inside. So bring the other one up there through the center, and it should just stand up on its own beautifully. You don't have to do anything to it to make it stand up on its own. Look at his little socks. So cute. Okay, so once you're happy with how it looks, then you're going to knot these off individually. Make sure the neck is nice and straight. Knot it off right up in the top. Okay, and now the other one. And don't cut these, because we're going to use these to sew the neck into the body as well. Well, I guess that depends. If you've used brown for your shoes, or any other color other than black, then you can't use these yarn tails to sew it in. Just knot these off and then cut them up shorter if they're a different color than the hair. Alright, my friends, I want to give you an option for the shoes. If you don't like this design here, and you'd rather these shoes be completely attached to the bottom of the pants, you can totally do that. I've sewn the shoes to the pants. These are a different type of shoe, but it's the same sort of deal. So you just sew, use your black, and sew all the way around. And then when you're done, you can take a chain with the brown, or whatever you use for the pant color, and wrap it around the bottom. And then you won't see any of those black stitches down there, and it'll look like his pants are cuffed at the bottom. So you can totally do that as well. You don't have to keep this design. I like it. It looks like his pants were too short. There's a flood coming, and you can see his socks, but some of you won't like it. So you can sew the shoes right to the pants, and then add a little chain to create a cuff at the bottom. So there's an option for you. Alright guys, we are almost ready to attach his head. Before we do that, let's add the 2 bolts on the neck. And I think the easiest way to do it is to get the gray yarn, and we're going to use double strand. So what I mean by that is we're going to go in between the 6th and 7th row. You just count from up here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. In between there, push your hook through, pull the yarn through, and now we're going to chain 3, and we're going to chain around both of these yarn strands. 1, 2, and 3. Now we're going to finish off. Leave a tail long enough that you can use on the other side of the neck. Pull the yarn tail through those loops and pull tight. Now thread them both, and then bring your needle through to the other side in between the 6th and 7th row. Hang on to that little chain and then pull the yarn tails through. Now you can pull it into shape. And now I'm going to use my hook to make a chain here. I'm going to push through, grab the yarn, pull it through, and now chain 3. 1, 2, 3. And finish off. Bring the yarn tail through that loop, pull tight, and now we just have to shape this one. So I'm just going to go through, doesn't really matter which side I use, I guess. Bring the yarn through and then up to the top of the neck. Come up anywhere, you can come out anywhere. Up there, because that's going to be hidden anyway. Pull it through. Now pull into shape. So I'm not sure how much of a big of a difference it makes, but you can shape this even further. Take one of the gray yarn tails and go back down and come out where that bolt is. And now wrap real tightly around that bolt. Grab the end of it and just wrap real tight. Okay, and once you're done wrapping it, then you can just take this back up here and knot off. You don't have to do this part. It's just a little added detail. I like little added details. So I'm going to bring it through and now cut free. Okay, let's sew his head and body together. So thread the black yarn tails and bring them right up through the middle of the head and out the top. Pull them through. Put the head on there, squish it down a little bit, pull on the yarn tails, squish the head a little bit down further, pull on the yarn tails. And that's done. Now you just have to knot these off. So I'm going to bring one of the yarn tails out through a different stitch hole so these can be knotted off. Knot them off. Now you can thread these both and carry them out anywhere and cut them free. Okay, now I'm going to sew in his collar. So I just threaded the one yarn tail in the back. And I'm going to go right through the back, the center, and I'm going to bring my yarn needle right through the center in the front. Right in between that green and the white there. Pull it through. Okay, wrap the chain around. And put it into shape. And now I'm going to put a stitch right through the center of that chain. I'll go back into the body and I'll come out on the side. And just pulling snug enough to pull it into place, not too tight because it just alters the shape. Okay, now put a stitch through the center of the chain there. And into the body, and I'll come out right about here. And through the center of the chain again. Bring it down and come out the back. And I might need more stitches, but I think that will do it. We'll check it out here. So I ended up putting stitches here, here, here on the sides, in the back. Wasn't too worried about this part back here because I am going to be adding that jacket, and that jacket is not going to be taken off, so I think we're okay back here. So I'm just going to knot those two together. I will carry them inside the body and cut them free. Next we're working on the arms, and I'm going to show you how to do the bobble thumb. Alright guys, I'm at the end of row 3. I just put one single crochet in those 8 stitches, and I'm going to put a small bobble into the 9th front loop only. We're just working in that front loop, this one right here. And we're going to use 3 double crochet. So yarn over, go into that front loop, pull the yarn through. You have 3 loops. Pull the yarn through the first 2 loops only, and now you have 2 loops remaining. We're going to repeat this until we have 4 loops on our hook. Into that front loop. Pull through the first 2 loops only, and we have 3 loops. We're going to do this one more time. Into that front loop. Pull through the first 2 loops only, and now we have our 4 loops. Now we can pull the yarn through all 4 loops, and that's the end of our bobble. So we're going to start the next row. We're going to put 1 single crochet in the first stitch and then crochet 2 together, and we're repeating that sequence 3 times. So let's do it together. 1 single crochet, and now 2 together. Repeat that. 1 single crochet in the next stitch, and 2 together, and repeating for the last time, 1 single crochet and 2 together. A little bit awkward because the hole is very small now. And we're finished row 4, and we should have 6 stitches around. So rows 5 through 7 is 1 single crochet in each one of those 6 stitches for 3 rows. So take your time. Very difficult to work in these small rounds when you're new to crochet. If you can't find the stitch, just turn it towards you and look for the V. There I go, I'm all finished row 7, and I'm going to finish off. We don't need any yarn tail for sewing. We're not using this yarn tail at all once we're done finishing off here. So you can cut it up shorter, you can stick a little bit inside there, it doesn't matter, or just leave it hanging a little bit. It's totally fine, whatever you decide to do. So here's my first one. I've just sewed it in place, and when you're sewing the arm in, you want to sew when you have it up against the, just pretend he has a jacket on, when you have the sleeve in place, where you finished off, make sure that's facing the body so you don't have any finish off jumps here. So when you sew the arm in place, we're going to sew it only to this part of the sleeve and not the top part, because you don't want any sewing stitches across here. You want to leave that free of stitches. And what I did to sew it in is I just pulled both yarn tails. There's my starting yarn tail still hanging there, and my finishing yarn tail. Reach in there with my hook, and I'm going to pull them both through. And I can use this starting yarn tail to sew the arm in place. If you don't have one there, if you've already gotten rid of it, don't worry about it. And the other thing to keep in mind, of course, is you want the thumbs to face each other. So you want to make sure you're sewing on the right side. Bring it down. I can feel it in there. I just brought the needle through the arm inside. I went through the arm again on the inside. You see I'm just sewing the arm inside to this side of the sleeve. That's all I'm doing. Okay, now I'm just going to finish off. So let's shape the front of the jacket now. You can see the top part here where we just did the collar. I want that flap down on both sides. And also the front part here, I'm just going to sew that back just a little bit like that. Just to hold it in place, I'm going to use my starting yarn tail, and I'll add a couple of stitches there. And if this needs a little help, I can stitch that down too, but it looks like it's going to stay pretty good on its own. So I'm going to knot this off back here. I'll carry this away and cut it free. I'm just going to sew this little bit back here. I'm just going to bring my finishing yarn tail down one stitch, and then sew this little piece down so it matches this side. Just check and make sure I don't need to sew this down. I might need to sew this end one here a little bit more finicky because it doesn't totally match this side. So I can just add a stitch here just to hold it down. Just one stitch will do. There we go. Now I'm going to knot off. And I'm going to use this yarn tail to sew the jacket in place. So I'm not going to cut it free, but I'll carry it down a little ways. I'll go in between stitches here. Alright guys, you can sew the jacket on and then sew the sleeves on if that's easier. Or you can place it on the body here and then just see where the sleeves will go. And now you can pin the jacket in place before you do this part, or you can just eye it up like I'm doing. So I'm going to hold that spot, and now I'm going to sew the sleeve in. And I'm not going to bring any stitches to the outside of the sleeve out here because we don't want to see any of those. So I'm just going to sew around the top and the sides. And I'll do one more here. And that is sewn in. Oh, I can do over here, just one more over here. Okay, now I'm going to knot off. Just be sure that you're happy with those arms before you start sewing. And like I said, you can also sew the jacket to the body and then sew the arms in place. It's up to you. Okay, so for sewing the jacket, I actually just start back here. I don't want to sew anything in the front. And I'm going to go through the body. And I'm going to come up through the jacket, just to get my starting stitch in there. And again, you can pin this in place before you start sewing. Make sure that you're totally happy with it. And I'm going to go back into the body, and I'll come up anywhere else where it's comfortable to come through. And I don't want to pull anything too tight. Alters the shape that way. Just pull light enough to bring everything into place. So I'm going to go through the body again and come up behind that arm over there. Carry the yarn tail through. And that's already sewn in place actually. So I'm going to go back down again and come up through the center in the back and just check and see. What I could do is put a little stitch here in front of the arm. One stitch there, go through the back. Oh yeah, that feels better already. Okay, and I'll do the other arm too. Go through the body and then come up right in front of the arm over here. And then back down through the body and out through the center of the back. And let's see how that is. That's perfect. Yeah, I'm happy with that. And now I'm just going to knot off. Alright my friends, that brings us to the end of this video tutorial. I hope you enjoyed making yourself a little monster doll. If you made one of these, I would sure love to see it. Post pictures on my Facebook page, Amigurumi Freely. Or if you're on Instagram, you can give me a follow and also tag my name and I'll check out your doll. The link to my Instagram is in the description box below. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you super soon.